Good evening, and thank you for joining us. Let's call to order the City Council meeting for the City of Highland Park, Illinois, Wednesday, April 10th, 2024. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Ross. Here. Councilmember Hubler. Councilmember Tapia.
Present.
Councilmember Littlewer.
Present.
Councilmember Stone.
Here.
Councilmember Bloomberg.
Here.
Mayor Rotering.
Here, we have a quorum. Everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. May I have a motion to approve the minutes of the regular City Council meeting held March 11th, 2024?
I move to approve them as amended.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. The minutes are approved. May I have a motion to approve the warrant list?
So moved.
Second.
Clerk, please call the vote.
Councilmember Ross.
Aye.
Councilmember Tapia. Councilmember Littlewer.
Aye.
Councilmember Stone.
Aye.
Councilmember Bloomberg.
Aye.
Mayor Rotering.
Aye, 6 ayes, no nays. The warrant list is approved. We'll now move to the report of the mayor. This past weekend marked 6 months since the horrific attacks on Israeli and other civilians on October 7th in 2023. We continue to stand in solidarity with all those who are still held hostage, as well as their loved ones here in Highland Park, in Israel, and around the world, and we call for their immediate and safe return. Under appointments, I have no appointments. Under proclamations, we have 2 proclamations this evening. Annually, April is an opportunity for us to celebrate Highland Park's urban forest. This year, the Arbor Foundation has once again named the City of Highland Park a Tree City USA. This marks the 44th year our community has attained this recognition, and tonight we're pleased to recognize this honor and the upcoming Arbor Day celebration, always a hit with many people. Whereas trees in our city increase property values, enhance the economic vitality of the business areas, and beautify our community, and whereas trees help reduce the erosion of our bluffs and ravines by wind and water, cut heating and cooling costs, moderate the temperature, clean the air, produce oxygen, and provide habitat for wildlife, and whereas trees, wherever they are planted, are a source of joy and spiritual renewal, and whereas Highland Park has been recognized as a Tree City USA by the Arbor Day Foundation for 44 consecutive years and desires to continue its tree planting ways, and whereas Highland Park is hosting an Arbor Day celebration on Saturday, April 27th from 9 a.m. till 11 a.m. at Ravinia Festival's West parking lot, where the City, Park District, local organizations, and businesses will offer a wide variety of environmental resources, along with more than 600 live native trees and shrubs ready for planting. Now therefore, I, Nancy Rotary, Mayor of the City of Highland Park, do hereby proclaim our support of Arbor Day and the Tree City USA program in the City of Highland Park, and urge all residents to support efforts to protect our trees and woodlands and to support our city's forestry program. And further, I urge all residents to plant trees to gladden the hearts and promote the well-being of present and future generations. Many thanks to Director of Public Works Ron Bannon, City Forester Ben Miller, Assistant City Forester Joe Moda, and the Department of Public Works for all of their work that they're doing to preserve and expand our urban tree canopy. I hope to see you at the Arbor Day celebration on Saturday, April 27th. There's a tree planting demonstration. You can bring confidential documents to shred. You can touch a truck. You can see electric vehicles. And you can see birds of prey, which are very cool. We've planned plenty of all ages fun. For more information, please go to cityhpil.com/, you guessed it, Arbor Day. Thank you. April is also Autism Awareness and Acceptance Month. And tonight we are delighted to take this opportunity to celebrate the richness of experience and perspective that our neurodiverse community members bring to Highland Park. Whereas autism spectrum disorder, ASD, is a lifelong developmental condition that typically appears during early childhood and can impact a person's social skills, communication, relationships, and self-regulation. And whereas the autism experience is different for everyone. ASD is defined by a certain set of behaviors and is often referred to as a spectrum condition that affects people differently in varying degrees. And whereas about 1 in 54 children has been identified with ASD, and it is 4.5 times more common in boys than in girls. And whereas people with ASD often have challenges with social, emotional, and communicative skills, they might repeat certain behaviors, might not want to change in their daily activities. And many people with ASD also have different ways of learning, paying attention, or reacting to things. And whereas while there is currently no known single cause of autism, early diagnosis helps a person receive resources that can support the choices and opportunities to live fully. And whereas during the month of April, we strive to promote autism awareness, acceptance, inclusion, and self-determination for all, and assure that each person with ASD is provided an opportunity to achieve the highest possible quality of life. Now therefore, I, Nancy Rotary, Mayor of the City of Highland Park, and the City Council of the City of Highland Park, do hereby proclaim the month of April as Autism Awareness and Acceptance Month in the City of Highland Park. And it's now my pleasure to welcome Teresa Kopitsky, Vice President of Adult Services at Keshet, to accept this proclamation. Teresa, are you here?
I am.
Thank you. If you'd like to share a few words at the podium, that'd be great.
Thank you so much to the city. Keshet has supported people with disabilities for over 40 years, including autism. We've provided support in the City of Highland Park residentially for over 10 years. And recently, we purchased a large building on Central Avenue where the Equinox had been. We're turning that into a community center, and that will support people with and without disabilities. We're looking for that to become an inclusive space where everyone can come together and be a community, regardless of their disability status, regardless of any differences or neurodivergence that they may have. So thank you so much for this opportunity. Thank you.
It's also important to note that April is Child Abuse Prevention Awareness Month, also known as Blue Kids Month. Each year, the Lake County Children's Advocacy Center, which is a division of the Lake County State's Attorney's Office, encourages Lake County governments, businesses, community organizations, and residents to learn about ways to protect children and prevent child abuse. As part of this initiative, the city, and specifically our police department, works to raise awareness among community members and encourage parents and guardians to access resources to talk with children about these important topics, including child safety, abuse prevention, bullying prevention, and more. Visit cityhpil.com/bluekids to view an informative video about the importance of keeping the community aware and educating us in terms of how to keep our children safe. Thank you. At this time, hang on, where we are. We have business from the council, and I would like to invite Councilmember Blueberg to share a report on behalf of the Historic Preservation Commission.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm pleased to present that report on behalf of the Historic Preservation Commission, where I serve as council liaison. The HPC is chaired by Seth Pines and consists of 6 commissioners, 2 student representatives, a park district liaison, and our staff liaison is Zubin Coleman, who is our city planner. Established as Chapter 33 of our code, the purpose of the Historic Preservation Commission is to identify such property, structures, or areas within the city of Highland Park that are historically significant, in that they exemplify and reflect the cultural, social, economic, political, or architectural history of the city, nation, or state. We also advise the City Council on the designations of such property, structures, or areas as either landmarks or historic districts. The HPC protects the distinctive visual characteristics of the landmarks or historic districts by reviewing, giving advice, and recommending changes to their exterior architectural appearance, and they perform other functions as may be necessary to safeguard and enhance the community heritage as embodied by properties, structures, and areas. A few brief highlights of the HPC's responsibility includes accessing the architectural or historic significance of homes before demolition, considering the architectural and historical appropriateness of alterations and changes to local landmark structures and properties within local historic districts, and making recommendations to the City Council regarding historic local landmark nominations and historic preservation programming, like the historic bike ride, the Historic Preservation Bike Ride, which is a lot of fun that we do every year. In addition to regulatory duties, a few of the HPC projects this year include developing and implementing historic plaque pilot program for the local historic properties, updating the 2002 Northeast Architectural Resource Survey using certified local government grant awarded by the State Historic Preservation Office, coordinating the 2024 Preservation Awards Program, coordinating the 2024 Historic Bike Tour, and hosting of local cyclists interested in learning about historic homes and neighborhoods in Highland Park, and exploring local demolition trends and researching and implementing policies and program communications aimed at reducing the number of demolitions of historic and architecturally significant homes in Highland Park. As you walk around the city, you'll see some fascinating older homes. We have a tremendous collection of older homes in Highland Park. We have a wonderful historic preservation program that helps to maintain and establish the heritage of Highland Park and makes living in Highland Park a unique experience. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Bloomberg. Now I'd like to invite Councilmember Ross, who serves as council liaison to the Township High School District 113, to provide an update.
Thank you, Mayor. I am pleased to present a report on behalf of the Township High School District 113, where I serve as council liaison. Township High School District 113 includes Highland Park High School and Deerfield High School. The current superintendent, Dr. Bruce Law, is retiring at the end of the school year, and the Board of Education has appointed Dr. Highland as the next superintendent. Dr. Highland currently serves as Assistant Superintendent for Administrative Services, representing Naperville Community Unit School District 203. The board conducted a thorough and comprehensive 5-month search. The transition is underway, and Dr. Highland will take the helm on July 1st. I met Dr. Highland at a board meeting. She seems terrific. The 113 school board seems excited about hiring her. Current high school principal Debbie Finn is also retiring at the end of this school year. Dr. Highland is working with the help of a search firm to select a candidate. It is anticipated that the next Highland Park High School principal will be announced midsummer. Several interior and exterior renovation projects at the high school are scheduled to occur over the summer break. The exterior work includes replacement of concrete stairs for the Vine Avenue entrance, addition of roof-mounted solar panels, a replacement of the gymnasium roof, and replacement of the synthetic turf for Walters Field. Interior work includes fire alarm and fire sprinkler upgrades, air handler replacement, and installation of classroom door card readers. The board of the Township High School District 113 is 7 elected board members representing both Highland Park and Deerfield, and further information can be found on their website at district113.org. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Councilmember Ross. Now I'd like to invite City Manager Newkirk to provide the staff report.
Great. Thank you, Mayor. Just a few reports from our staff. Later on the agenda is the omnibus agenda. There are 19 items for consideration. 3 of them are recommended to be approved as amended. The first one pertains to liquor code amendments, specifically related to hours of operation, cocktails to go, keg regulations, revised classifications, and new classifications. These matters were discussed at a committee of the whole meeting. We sought council input. Based on your policy feedback, we have prepared with Corporation Council a proposed ordinance. That ordinance is on the dais with one additional change from the posted packet as it pertains to tagging kegs. We have removed the requirement that the city provide those tags, but we are requiring that the licensee continue to provide those tags. So that's recommended to be approved as amended. Number 7 is also recommended to be approved as amendment. This is authorizing an award of the business district's landscape and hardscape maintenance contract. Based on council feedback, we have increased the amount of work that is planned for the downtown business district, central business district, as well as Ravinia district. The change that is reflected is on Exhibit B, where we had the old hours of operations for the leaf blower regulations. So that has been reflected to the new regulations, which took effect January this year. And that is that gas-powered leaf blowers are only permitted between April 1 and April 30th and October 1 and November 30th. So the Merino, our landscaper, are certainly well aware of these regulations, as are all new landscapers that license with the city as well. And then the third item's recommended to be approved as amended is number 13. This was emailed to the city council earlier as well. This provides clarification that the mayor, Rotering, city manager, city clerk, myself, would be authorized to execute contracts with the state of Illinois, and the deputy city clerk would be attesting those signatures. Just highlights of a few other agenda items. So there's a significant number of items on the agenda that pertains to one of our priorities, which is infrastructure investment. So number 8 is pertains to improvements in the Briargate Business District. This project area is north of Old Deerfield Road to the north end where the pavement ends, and project includes resurfacing the roadway, replacing the gravel area with new permeable brick paver stalls, new LED lighting, and landscaping. Another exciting project that's recommended for approval is number 11, and this pertains to improvements and revitalization of 2nd Street from Elm to Central. The proposed improvements include widening the east sidewalk and converting it from concrete to a decorative brick paver sidewalk to match the west side, installation of bump outs to provide opportunities for outdoor dining, storm sewer improvements, which Public Works is very excited about, milling and resurfacing the asphalt pavement for a smooth surface, new LED lighting, installation of bollards and bump outs for public safety purposes, and landscaping, which includes new trees and planter boxes. So we've been working closely with the businesses in that area. We've done a number of communication about this exciting project, and subject to your approval, we will move forward right away and continue to communicate about that project. And then, Aaron, if we could go to that next slide. Number 12 on the agenda pertains to Central Business District street resurfacing. This was another important priority. The city council was included in the budgets recommended for approval. These are all the streets that you see here that are set to be resurfaced. Work will take place between 9 p.m. and 6 a.m. in order to minimize the impact for all those businesses, customers, and people within the district. We're also sensitive, certainly, to the residents who reside in that area, and we will be working as efficiently and really as effectively as possible, working with the contractor, and there will be a project manager on site as well. This agenda item also includes improvements to the pedestrian signals, which includes signal countdowns and audible sound for the visually impaired. And then just a few other highlights. We go to that next slide. Plans are well underway for the Independence Day events this year on July 4th. We sought feedback certainly from the city council as well as from the public and our government partners. And we've put together a schedule of events that are intended to balance the diverse needs of the community by providing space for remembrance and also familiar community traditions. So we are starting off with a remembrance ceremony at 10 a.m. at Highland Park High School. We are asking residents or anyone interested in attending to register as well, and we'll provide further information about the components of that ceremony. And then we continue, the parade is a joint endeavor between the city and the Park District, and the theme this year is Sweet Home Highland Park. So we're going to continue with a community-focused parade, a slightly different parade route. We're still starting and ending essentially at the same location, but doing a slightly different route. And then we have best in show categories. We're really encouraging the public to get involved and put together entries into the parade by neighborhood, community group, businesses. Applications for participation are going to be available starting April 15th and will continue through May 31st. And then we have a comprehensive Q&A that will be posted by the end of this week to our website. So many exciting events coming up this summer. And then last, wanted to just provide an update on the place of remembrance. Our working group has met on a couple of occasions starting late last year. And the place of remembrance really is intended to reflect 3 priorities. 1, to create a place for active remembrance, to memorialize those who were killed, and to honor the community's resiliency, especially those who were injured. So I won't read that, but we've identified objectives. If we go to the next slide. We also, based on feedback from victims, the public, certainly mayor and city council, we established values, and we are working on what's called a trauma-informed approach that's based on guidance by the Department of Justice in approaching places of remembrance. And so you can see the 4 bullet points that are guiding our process as it pertains to the values. And then at our last meeting, we shared with the working group and the public information about our communications plan. So who are we communicating with? How are we communicating with individuals? And really wanting to make sure that we are being transparent, we are engaging with not only Highland Park, but really we know that people around the world have been impacted, and we want to make sure to stay in communication with all those individuals. Encouraging two-way communication. So our communications plan in totality is available on our website. Erin, if we can go to the next slide. And that is the website location. So we encourage people to visit us there. You can get information about meeting agendas. There are meeting notes posted. The upcoming meeting is going to be on May 1st at 7 o'clock at City Hall. So we encourage individuals to join us if they're interested. We also have a wealth of resources that are available there as well. So if individuals are looking for services, information, or direct contact with our resiliency division team, all that contact information is on this website that's identified here. And then just the last report is the major project report. So certainly, as the council is well aware, every year we put together a list of major projects, which are significant public-facing initiatives that are generally outside of our day-to-day operation. We have 120 major projects that we're undertaking this year, which is a significant lift, but we're excited about all the work that is underway as well as that is planned, and really excited to work with all of our commissions, committees, groups, as well as with the public. This first quarter update, you can see all highlights, changes that are reflected in red font, and people can view the entire major project report just to see what's planned for the year. Happy to entertain any questions.
Any questions? Amazing. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is business from the public. This is an opportunity for members of the public to address the City Council on a topic that is within the council's purview and jurisdiction, but is not listed in another location on the agenda. If you'd like to speak about a matter that is listed on the agenda, we ask that you wait until that agenda item is called, and then we will give you an opportunity to speak. If your matter is on the omnibus consent agenda, please let us know if you'd like us to remove that matter from the consolidated list so you can speak about it. Please be aware that business from the public is not intended to be a forum for open dialogue or engagement with members of the City Council. Rather, it is intended as an opportunity to make comments to the City Council. Please do not expect a response from anyone tonight. If appropriate, we may direct the city manager or other city staff to respond to questions or issues raised at a later date. All comments should be directed to the City Council. Before we proceed, we would like to address an incident that occurred following the last City Council meeting between members of the public who spoke during business from the public. A resident advised council and city staff that after the individual and their child left City Hall, another resident spoke harshly to their child who had provided testimony during business from the public, including comments that were very hurtful. As a community, we benefit greatly from many opinions and spirited debate. We pride ourselves on our ability to respectfully exchange ideas, express differing opinions, and still come together as one Highland Park. Everyone has a right to express their ideals to the council and their fellow community members during business from the public. But it's our responsibility to model civil and respectful disagreements when required and treat all members of our community with respect and kindness. Last year, the city adopted a community values statement that reads in part, quote, "We are committed to ensuring that our priorities, policies, and behaviors nurture a sustainable citywide culture of inclusion that embraces the full diversity of our community. This statement holds true especially when we're expressing differing opinions. So therefore, we encourage everyone to keep in mind our responsibility to be respectful of each other, both during and outside of a public meeting. And while we might disagree, it's important that we not lose sight of our values. So with that in mind, please be advised, as always, we will be limiting you to 3 minutes. We request that the public not applaud or make comments after the speakers. And again, ask that everyone be respectful, civil, and non-redundant. Thank you. Hello.
Good evening. My name is Carl Landwehr, and I'm going to discuss something in this book. It's called The Hidden Hitler. We all know that the Nazis burned books. What we don't know, and it isn't talked about very much, is that one Jew who was helping people get out of same-sex attraction, his books were the first ones burned. United States, many years later, and again, a Jew is trying to help people get out of same-sex attraction. It's in New Jersey. And he has to pay a fine of $3 million. For him, that's a lot of money. Especially since what he was doing was merely as a volunteer to help people. I want to thank you. And I still meet Tom. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other business from the public this evening? Please come forward and state your name.
My name is Erwin Bernstein. I actually have 2 short items. I serve on the board, or on the Business Development Advisory Group. It was once a commission. It's been reduced to an advisory group only. I believe the role of the group is to provide assistance and advice to the business development group within the city staff and to city council. Yet oftentimes I feel that that role is taken very cursory. There's liquor laws being proposed. We never discuss them. That certainly has to do with business development. There is the restaurant advisory group that is going to be I guess the mayor is presenting on April 17th.
No, just meeting.
Okay, just meeting.
You're welcome to join us.
Thank you. I was told, it would make sense that before proposals are presented to the public, if we are going to be an advisory group, we should be allowed to advise beforehand. Our job is to avoid embarrassments, to try to help the city present the best foot forward, and to do it after the fact, I think, is a mistake. So that was issue 1. Issue 2, I heard talk about leaf blowers, gas blowers. I don't understand. I know there's an exception for golf courses. I'm not certain why. I mean, I understand that people are out on the golf courses, but I can tell you, living near a golf course, between 4 and 5 in the morning, trucks with gas blowers are making noises and not allowing us to sleep with our windows open. And I'd love to see the city address what can be done about that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And if I could just talk to you for a second about the advisory group question. And so it's not that those commissions were reduced to advisory groups, rather it was an opportunity to expand participation by more residents and to not have the constraints, the statutory constraints that go along with formal commissions, that we made those entities into advisory groups. It was really an opportunity for more people to participate and to have more of an opportunity to hear from the public. But I appreciate your comments, and we certainly appreciate the work of the Business and Economic Development Advisory Group. Happy to have you talk to Aaron Jason, who is sitting right next to you, who has been working very hard on these issues. And again, welcome you to come join us at the restaurant meeting. But my understanding is that that's a meeting for me to hear from the restaurants, to meet with those owners and to get their input as we look at other ways to improve opportunities for new restaurants to come into Highland Park and to support the restaurants that are currently at Highland Park.
I believe you actually do have a presentation.
Yeah, we do. It's a staff presentation.
It's a staff
Yeah,
presentation.
Okay.
But there is a meeting that the Business and Economic Development Group coordinates on an annual basis, and the mayor will be there, and that's with the entire business community. And so that's BDAG's role, is helping coordinate that meeting for the entire community, which is listening and public engagement. The restaurant meeting, the intent of that is to meet with our restaurants. We do want to share information that the city's doing as it pertains to business attraction, business retention, talk about our marketing, and then we've introduced some recent expansions to our incentive programs as well as new incentives, and want to make sure that the restaurant community is all aware of that and also to get their feedback.
I support everything that you said there. My only suggestion would be, we think that, we're here to provide feedback before you go out publicly, and meetings could be scheduled so that we can help you with that task.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
And we thank you for that. And we are talking in about a month about advisory groups and how to better use the expertise in this community. So we appreciate the volunteers, as you, who serve on these groups and commissions and boards, and we'll look at how can we give you more of a sense of engagement and where things are going. And as somebody who sat on the Environmental Commission when it was called that and the liaison never showed up, we talked amongst ourselves about all these great things and nobody knew about it, so I understand what you're saying, so thank you. Any other members of the public who wish to be heard this evening? Please come forward, state your name.
My name is Richard Rosenberg. I would like to make some comments regarding the Hubler situation. I don't believe that's on the agenda for tonight later on. A couple of comments here. Laws are meant to be followed. However, laws are intended to be amended when the context dictates that they should be. That's why the Illinois legislature, in their infinite wisdom, has given local governments the option to amend this law. The law is ridiculous. It is. There's absolutely no substantive due process to it. There's no connection between the law and what it's trying to accomplish. I highly doubt that the bootleggers of the 1930s have any present designs on taking over local Highland Park government. That's just obviously why the law was made, and it's no longer necessary. The Liquor Commission itself had no idea of the law's existence. The onus is on the licensing body to be aware of the applicable law, not the applicant. Of course, the applicant, well, they're the applicant, and you're the commission. And if you were unaware of it, I can only say that there was a certain amount of due diligence on your part for not taking care of this earlier on. Now you're trying to pass the buck to the applicant and saying it's his fault. No one buys that. There's no great fault or blame here, but to try to pass it to the applicant, it's ridiculous. You created the present situation through a lack of due diligence, all right, and becoming aware of what the laws are when you're supposed to, and therefore I think you should correct it to no one's prejudice. I question whether or not the city council will pass on that. There has been criticism of the recusal process. The recusal is a time-honored procedure recognized at all levels of government. Why is it not good enough for Highland Park on all levels, from the Supreme Court, U.S. Congress, on all levels? Recusal is what is used when necessary. For us not to accept that as a partial means of dealing with the situation, if there is indeed a conflict, is just ridiculous. regarding, okay, I just want to also mention, there have been no voices raised in favor of keeping the law as it is, okay? I understand that there has been mention made of vast amounts of emails coming in supporting keeping the law as it is. However, the latest FOIA request produced no emails regarding a desire to keep the law as is. So unless there was all face-to-face or telephone calls supporting this law, I don't believe that there is very many people at all. I think that the people who want to amend the law far outnumber those who, there's no reason to keep it the way it is. Let's face the facts.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Your time is up.
Okay.
Appreciate your comments. Corporation Counsel. No, we're not applauding, we're not applauding. You guys, rules of the road, don't applaud. Can Corporation Counsel, there was a statement made that the onus was on the licensing body, and I know that you have opined, I believe, otherwise would like you to have the opportunity to respond to that, or if you,
Well, I don't know that we've said anything about onus one way or the other. There is an application that is required to be filled out, and then the licensing body reviews the application. We've acknowledged that the licensing body and the city issued the license in error.
but the onus is, my understanding, according to an opinion issued by your law firm, that the person who is the applicant who makes an affirmative statement that nothing disqualifies him from having a license also has the obligation to be aware of the law.
I believe, Mayor, that was issued in connection with a determination of whether revocation would be lawful.
That question was never posed. The question about revocation was never posed to Elrod Friedman. The question was who was responsible when the applicant signed an affidavit affirming that nothing disqualified their entity from having a license incorrectly. Are you saying that that onus is still on this body, or is that on the applicant when they are signing a notarized application stating that they have affirmed that nothing disqualifies them?
I'm trying to put in context the memo that you have that I provided. I provided you with the standards that the city code has in it, and among the standards are lists of what the requirements are. We do expect applicants to read, and the applicants do verify that they have read and understand the standards. I never used the word onus, and I think that's...
Oh, that would be Mr. Rosenberg's
Okay,
word.
so I can tell you, Mayor, that the city has a list of requirements. The applicant is required to indicate that they have read the requirements and submit that in connection with their license
Okay.
application.
Thank you. And there were voices raised in support during one of the, thank you, you're not speaking right now, please wait till your turn. But somebody did come by, and we have received a handful of emails and a lot more phone calls. So suffice it to say, and I'm just going to finish my statement and then move to the next speaker, because as I noted at the beginning, this isn't truly a full-on engagement, but I did want to clarify some misstatements that were made. There is a sense that the people who are in support are feeling intimidated, and they don't want to be called out by the public.
Nobody buys that.
Well, that's your decision. I'm sorry, we're moving on to the next speaker. Thank you. Please state your name for the record.
My name is Faye Rosenberg. I'm a 3-year resident of Highland Park and a retail shop owner in the Ravinia district. Question, why is it important to be able to change the law? Laws must change as society's values and attitudes change over the years. Society does not remain static, so the legal system and the laws it produces need to be relevant in order to be effective. Laws need to respond to social, economic, technological, moral, and political change by evolving as those changes emerge. What people in society consider important and relevant within one generation may alter over a transitional period of time. In order to remain relevant, laws must uphold and reflect the values and beliefs in the present time. Even the Constitution makers felt that it had has to be in accordance with people's aspirations and change in society. They did not see it as a sacred, static, and they did not see it as sacred, static, and unalterable. What are some laws that have changed over time? The Civil Rights Act of 1964, the same-sex marriage, women's suffrage, Jim Crow laws. Finally, I give to you people who broke the law to change laws in the world. Dr. Martin Luther King, Rosa Parks, who was one person, Susan Brownell Anthony. In sum, this allegedly forward-thinking city is now holding fast to an antiquated law, deeply affecting the residents in this town, the restaurants and small businesses. Is this what we want? Do we want to thwart what the people here have voted for? And in response to the question of the onus, it is, you might think that the word onus carries some sort of terrible meaning, but the onus should be upon the people who are on the liquor commission to know what's in the liquor code. Why should it be upon the applicant? I mean, it just makes sense. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other members of the public wish to be heard? Why don't you make a line, if you could, so we can proceed through everybody? And we'll just, no, go ahead, go. Everybody just go line up and share your name and share your thoughts, and we'll hear from everybody. Thank you.
Okay. So what? Guy, there was, what? Levi King. There was one guy, actually I think there was two, it was his buddy. There was one Humpty Dumpty looking dude that came up here. He says, the law is the law. If the law was the law, prohibition would still be in effect, but it's not, right? I've a couple months have gone by and I've just, I was obviously pretty upset last time. I'm still pretty upset. As the days go on, I learn more about the three of you, the three stooges up here. Yeah. You guys are just so, I don't even understand why you're doing this. Why? It doesn't make any sense. Man, I'm shaking. I'm so upset by this. This whole thing, it's such a bigger picture. You sit on the board of Ravinia Music Festival.
I do not.
Sorry, you have an honorary chair. Okay, I mean, you're clearly in cahoots with them.
Literally, I'm not.
It's my time, so.
Go for
okay. You're clearly in cahoots with them. It's obvious. Why else would you have it out for this guy so bad? Yeah. I mean, he's the only, out of the three of you, I don't really know much about the other three because you guys we're on Team Huber or whatever it is. But the three of you, he's the only one who's out there creating jobs and doing something and trying to progress the community. You guys are just up there being lawyers, doing lawyer things. And with I know the lawyer thing is going to hit a bad chord with this community because there's a lot of lawyers up here, and that's fine. But what is just really annoying is he's up here trying to make a difference and trying to push Highland Park forward and trying to do good things. And you're just up there you know what? I don't like you. Me and old Ravinia Music Festival and whatever it is you stand for, it's so weird. What is it? What is so far up you that that you got it out for this guy? It's absurd. God, it just doesn't make any sense. Huber, or forget about Huber. Anyone who actually owns a business, they should be able to have a say. Forget about recusing yourself. That's why you join this stuff, so that you can push forward what's good for the community. And you're just up there doing lawyer stuff, making laws, and say, you know what? I don't like you. We're gonna axe that whole idea, and that is garbage. And you are garbage for it. Got science. Get out of here. That is so stupid. You got a brain. If you had a brain, you would amend the law and you would allow this stuff to go through, and then you wouldn't have to listen to me anymore. Thanks.
Thank you. Next speaker?
Hi, Paul Weinberg. A topic that came up, different topic that came up earlier, which I wasn't aware of as a resident, who was mentioned by Ms. Newkirk, made of changes to the regulations concerning gas-powered leaf blowers. What are the changes from last year? That's very important. It sounds like people can't use them in the months of May, June, July, August, and September at all. Is that what I understood? Only in April and October? Is that right?
Go for it.
Can we just stop the time clock?
Stop the time and we'll talk about the gas-powered leaf blower regulations. Yeah.
Okay.
Or do you
Thank
have
you,
more
Mayor.
do you have more to say, or, I mean,
I have a question because I wasn't aware that that had changed, and that was, it's a,
that was something that was of
Subject-
interest to you. Right, sure.
Sure, happy to address it. Yes, so the regulations that took effect the start of this year is that gas-powered leaf blowers are only permitted between April 1 and April 30th, and October 1st and November 30th. We worked with 11 communities, about 22 individuals representing the region. We put together a leaf blower working group. So there were a number of municipalities. We had park districts, landscapers, professionals, environmentalists, and we reviewed various facets pertaining to this subject matter. That final report of that working group is posted on the city's website. If you'd like to provide me your email address, I can share it with you. But from that research and information, we had a discussion with the mayor and city council at a committee of the whole meeting, and then the new regulations were put into place. We have been communicating the new regulations with all landscapers as they apply for licenses, with the understanding that they understand the city's regulations, and also sharing with them that there is the possibility, and it's going to be revisited with the city council, that there would be an outright total ban for gas-powered leaf blowers. And so we are looking at that. We're also looking at best practices nationwide as it pertains to buyback programs, incentives, and sensitive to the noise, the environmental impacts, and also the cost considerations, and working with landscapers on this initiative.
thank you. Can you turn my clock back on? One more question. What are the hours, the days of the week that in those 3 months that they can operate? Are they the same hours, or have they changed? Because there's been a rush, and now I understand why there's been a rush.
There's no change to the hours.
So is it Monday? What are the hours?
If you give me a moment, let me look it up.
Okay,
and
thank
then
you.
Maybe just keep going, and then I can follow up with you.
Turn
Is
off
that
the
okay?
clock?
All right.
Yeah, turn the clock.
Councilmember,
That'll be my last question.
did you want to say?
Just want to know.
Thing. The city manager maybe could mention what the leaf blower restrictions were previously, because it hasn't changed a whole lot.
Then how come they've been using them all through the summer, all the time?
They weren't supposed to be. They were banned from May 1st, I believe, to October 15th. Is that right?
In prior years?
In
Yeah,
prior years,
in prior
yeah.
years.
So there was a lot of violation in prior years.
Total violation.
But they were banned. So the expansion of the ban doesn't impact the summer season.
If a person finds, you can turn my clock back on, if a person finds that someone is violating it this year, when they ostensibly understand better what the rules and regulations are, does another resident, should I call the police? Should I call the city? Who should I call?
The non-emergency police number would be the right number to call.
All right, great. Final question. What are those hours if you found them?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Right now, my computer's not bearing with me. If you provide me your email address, I will provide it to
Okay.
you. The city's building division is conducting regular sweeps of the community, so we are reviewing to see if any landscapers are in violation. Our first approach is certainly education, but then we will do enforcement, because again, they should understand and abide by the city's regulations. If someone does identify someone in violation, they are urged, they can certainly contact the non-emergency number, and either our building staff are the ones that will follow up with them. If we do witness a violation and a citation is issued, we will also provide a door hanger to the property owner, because we also want to ask the public, work with us and help us to make sure that their landscapers are in compliance with the regulations, and that the homeowners also know what the regulations are.
turn my clock back, and I'll approach you at the end of the meeting with my email address, but there's no calendar violation, if I understand you correctly, until May 1st. Correct? Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
My name is Stan Miller. I'm a Ravinia resident. And in listening to the some of the dialogue regarding the liquor control license, I think it might be helpful for the council to explain to the public and divorce the Hubler situation from the dialogue, why the ordinance is important, the ordinance is written, because I listened to the live stream presentation on February 12th, I believe, and everything is intersected with Hubler. And I could not divine from the commentary why it was important to have the ordinance. Every time a public body, whether it's the city council or legislatures enact some law, it's supposed to forward some public interest, and at the same time it will obviously curtail someone's freedom to either do something or not do something. And I think that dialogue was absent. Everything was, there was an intersection with Hubler, and I really didn't understand why the council felt it was important to have that law remain unamended. So, and I don't know what the forum is for the council to give an explanation, but I think that would be very helpful to the public if you did, and maybe reduce some of the contentions or contentious commentary that is going around. And the second comment I had, and based on today's presentation or a commentary, there seems to be a matter of dispute as to the feeling of the population as to whether they were in favor of the ordinance as it existed or not. And if there would be any way for the council to poll the public, if that's possible, or to get a sentiment, that might be helpful for you, and it certainly would be helpful for the community. So, thank you.
Thank you. Speaker?
Good evening, everybody. Mayor, council members, and myself. My name is Mary Dillon Grant. I've been a resident of Highland Park for over 2 decades already. So I've got a little investment here at this point in time. Tonight, the city council members consider a number of amendments to Chapter 119, expanding the list of businesses capable of offering alcoholic beverages. The council is considering allowing clubs and corporations to sell packaged liquor at their events, expanding the Golf Dome license category to include any active sports facility, expanding major event licenses beyond the current sporting event definition, and granting new categories of liquor licenses to any business wishing to provide customers with a complimentary alcoholic beverage, any pop-ups or temporary restaurant, and to any very small nano brewery, distilleries, and wine or mead makers. Additionally, the council is considering regulating and licensing BYOB services at establishments that elect not to serve their own alcoholic beverages. And this is a good thing. Highland Park understands a simple economic truth. The well-regulated provisions of alcoholic beverages by city businesses can be an important component of economic growth. A city jeweler or realtor who offers celebratory champagne with a sale, or a spa that offers a mimosa as a part of a spa experience can gain an economic advantage over out-of-town businesses who do not. A gym that offers adult smoothies at their juice bar may attract new customers and increase spending of existing customers, all to the economic benefit of our city, which, considering retail vacancies, could certainly use. But these opportunities have a cost to business owners who live in Highland Park. Their ability to be involved in city governance will be significantly restricted by our ordinance. Those business owners, investors in Highland Park's economic vitality cannot sit on the city council, because if they do, they will face a Hobson's choice. They can choose their own business that manufactures, sells, or distributes alcoholic beverages, but they may not serve on our city council, or they may, if they elect to serve in this body, only if they fully divest themselves to the very thing that brought them here, their Highland Park business. At this time, when our culture has shifted from seeing alcoholic beverages solely as intoxicants to viewing them as a part of a positive consumer experience and thus driver of enhanced city revenue, we cannot continue to monetize the availability of a celebratory glass of wine or pint or good beer while disenfranchising those citizen business owners who provide them. We need both. We need to increase business revenue to grow citizen business owners who provide them to our business districts, enhance our residents' hometown experience, and attract visitor spending. But we also need committed local businesses owning residents in positions of leadership in our city. There is no discernible, darn it, reason for may I have like 4 more sentences? May I please?
Yep.
There is no discernible reason to bar otherwise qualified residents from service only because they choose to give a customer a flute of champagne. As a resident of Highland Park for more than 20 years who's committed to the idea of buy local, I urge the council to amend section 119.320 of the city ordinance in accordance with 235 ILCS 5/6-2, parentheses A14, permitting liquor license holding resident business owners to serve our city as members of this body. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public? Okay, thank you.
Hi,
Yeah.
my name
Can
is,
everybody just line up? If you're planning to make a comment, just line up right over there.
I was not planning to make a comment, but I decided to. I was listening to some of the comments that were made just a few minutes ago. My name is Linda Feinstein. I've been a resident of Highland Park for close to 4 decades. I'm here with my family. They're also residents of Highland Park. I have children and grandchildren in the community. We love Highland Park. We appreciate your service. We think this is, a wonderful community. I've been struggling recently because I've been trying to find a reason for, a policy reason for this ordinance. And I agree with the comments that were made a few minutes ago that this is not about Jeff Hubler. This is about whether that particular ordinance serves a valid public interest. And that's really the issue at hand here. And I'm really struggling with that because you have to look at what the ordinance does, and it's very simple. The ordinance takes a segment of the community, and it tells that segment of the community, you cannot participate in elected government, you cannot represent the people of this community. That's a very serious and a very extreme thing to do, unless there's a really strong reason that's articulated, that's clear, and that cannot be accomplished in a less severe manner. Even more importantly, and even worse, in my opinion, this harms the public because it takes away from the public the ability to decide for themselves who they want to represent them. And if you have a candidate who meets all of the other qualifications for office, they're 18 years old, they're not felons and so forth, that candidate should be somebody who I as a voter can decide whether I like them, I don't like them. Do they have a liquor license? Do I think that liquor license is a bad thing? Do I think it's a good thing? I am an intelligent voter and I should have the opportunity to make that decision. This ordinance takes that decision out of my hands and it's fundamentally undemocratic. And for that reason, I think this ordinance is terrible public policy. I think it should be eliminated. And I think that the fact that no one even knew it existed, to me, seems like prima facie evidence that it's just not it doesn't serve an important public interest. So for that reason, I would love to have you reconsider and amend the ordinance. I think that the relevance of Jeff Hubler is indirect. This is not about Jeff Hubler, except that he was elected by the public, and in that context, we have a public statement that they want someone with a liquor license to be able to sit on the council. And I think that's a very powerful statement. The public was well aware of the fact that he had a liquor license at the time he ran for office. He garnered more votes than anyone else in the election. And the public, with full knowledge of his background, made a very strong statement that they want to be able to elect someone who has a liquor license. And I think that when you have deference to, I think it's important to have deference to the public statement, and that's the only extent to which Jeff Hubler is relevant to this issue. I think, again, the fundamental issue is, what does this ordinance do? And it really contravenes the ability of the voters to decide.
Thank you.
Hello.
Hi.
I'm Doug Carrington. I'm a resident of Ravinia for almost 32 years now, and I'm also the publicity and membership director of the Ravinia Neighbors Association, which I've been a part of for 22 years. I have to say the previous two speakers took some words out of my mouth, so I certainly echo what they had to say. It's not about Jeff Hubler. It's about the 51, 53 plus businesses I understand, in Highland Park that have liquor licenses, meaning that the people that own those businesses or part of those businesses or have any part of the partnership, they cannot run for mayor, they cannot run for city council. That is diminishing the ability for the community to participate in what goes on in the city to make it a healthier place to live, a healthier place to have businesses. And I understand that there's some efforts by the city to encourage better businesses and to retain the businesses we have, if you like. But I think that more can be done. And Jeff Hubler was voted in on that aspect, that he went around continuously before he was elected, meeting with businesses and bringing their concerns to fore and working with them and making postings on Facebook to that end. And he's done a great job of representing the business community, which the city needs to have somebody. So what's happening is that by retention of this archaic ordinance, and I've read it, and also I understand in the municipal code that the motion to reconsider had to be done on the night of February 12th or the next successive meeting. Well, I think that's kind of awkward, and I think that it still can be reconsidered despite what the municipal code says. And that's what I'm asking that the city council do, is to reconsider. And I have kept count of all the people that have responded through Next Door Neighbor and other means through email, that the people who support the amendment far, far outweigh the people that maybe have wanted to keep it intact. And I don't know why anyone would want to keep it intact, because it makes no relevance in today's world. So I plead with you to consider what all these good people have said, and let's get back to a realistic ordinance that makes sense in today's world. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next speaker.
My name's Will Abonse. I live here in Highland Park, and I'm owner-operator of Judy's Pizza. I'm going to read a letter that was written by the Illinois Restaurant Association in regards to the letter that was written on March 8th, open letter from all the restaurant and supporters in regards to the Section 119 ordinance. To the Highland Park City Council, the Illinois Restaurant Association, a nonprofit organization founded in 1914, is the voice of the restaurant and hospitality industry in the state of Illinois. Our organization is writing to urge the members of the Highland Park City Council to reverse the city's archaic and undemocratic ordinance, Section 119.320. The ordinance does not serve any viable contemporary public interest. It was enacted by the city of Highland Park at a time when Illinois statutes dating back to the end of Prohibition prevented local city council members from receiving liquor licenses. The Illinois legislature has since modernized its laws as applied to municipalities like Highland Park, but Highland Park has yet to update the ordinance. Small business owners who operate restaurants with liquor licenses represent the important segment of the community. There are 26,193 eating and drinking place locations in Illinois. We are the largest private sector employer in the state, accounting for 400,000 jobs, which is 9% of the state's total employment. These business owners should not be singled out for exclusion from service on local city councils. In Highland Park's most recent city council election, more votes were cast for Jeff Hubler than any other candidate. Mr. Hubler, who owns a restaurant with a liquor license, and his business interests were a key feature of his campaign. The election results represent the strongest possible statement of what community considers good public policy to be. The ordinance, if it continues to exist, would take the decision out of the hands of the voters. It would also continue to deprive individuals like Mr. Hubler from the opportunity to serve in local government. Our association believes that a restaurant owner with a liquor license must be given the same rights to serve the community as other business owners, and the ordinance should be amended accordingly. Some have argued the sole purpose of such an amendment would be to benefit a council member. Nothing could be farther from the truth. Amending the ordinance would benefit the public at large by allowing a broader participation in local government. Communities benefit when they are open to a wider and more diverse range of candidates. Voters, including all future voters, should be allowed to make decisions regarding the benefits and detriments of holding a liquor license or any other type of business interest while serving. On behalf of the Illinois Restaurant Association, I urge you to the strongest possible terms to reconsider your earlier vote and amend the ordinance to give local business owners, including restaurateurs and liquor license holders, a seat at the table. Sam Toya, President and CEO of the Illinois Restaurant Association. And as previously mentioned, some of the city values, you included the word inclusion, and that's what we're asking for.
Thank you. And just wanted to let you know that we received a copy of the letter earlier today, so everybody is in receipt of Sam's letter. Any other members of the public wishing to be heard? Going once, going twice? Okay, thank you very much for sharing your thoughts. We'll now move on to scheduled business. Items 1 through 19 are grouped together for omnibus consideration. 1 as amended, 7 as amended, 13 as amended. I'm seeking a motion to approve.
I'd like to pull number 1, please, from the consent agenda.
Okay. Items 2 through 19. Do I have a motion to approve items 2 through 19?
So moved.
As amended. All right, are we clear?
Yes,
Okay.
as amended.
7 and 13 are
Right.
7 and 13 is amended. Will the clerk please call the vote?
Wait, can I
Oh,
just make a
sorry.
comment?
Sure.
Yeah, there's a couple very positive things in the omnibus that I just want to make sure goes in the public record. I know not everybody leads the packet like we do. And they all, I want to call attention to the 4 that have to do with economic development. And some of it our city manager already highlighted, but I just want to commend city staff and city council for a lot of hard work that promises to be an infusion of economic development work and incentive, not only economically, but also beautification of our downtown area and the Rainier Business District. I just want the public to know that the things that our city manager talked about means that we're really striving to have what we would call a sparkly downtown with more lush landscaping, more frequent cleanup, new furniture, even paying attention to the access to our parking lots so that it looks attractive and inviting. And so, there's a lot of things that we always want things to be better, and we've been listening to the public on this. And so, and this has to be supported by budget and the good use of the taxpayers' money. And I just wanted to highlight that. And that has to do with not only Central Business District and Rainier Business District, but city manager also talked about Briargate. There's some really important improvements going on there. And the city manager put it in the terms of our infrastructure pillar, which is a very important one. But I would add that this is also about our other new pillar this year, which is economic development. That infrastructure in the service of attracting more people to our city as a destination, infrastructure that makes our residents proud of going downtown and just enjoying increased beauty and cleanliness and sparkliness, and is going to not only lift civic pride, but it's also going to invite more restaurants and more businesses to come here and to really enjoy all the beautiful things that our city has in mind. So I just want to make sure that that doesn't go unnoticed, because it's one thing to pass a trash pickup budget or a cleanliness budget or a landscaping budget. There's a baseline. This is on top of that to make sure that we really reflect the aesthetics and the pride that we have in the city, so that city looks up to the image that we want it to have. So I just want to point that out before we vote, because I think we all collectively have worked very hard for this moment to get to the place to have the budget and the foresight and the right contractors and the right due diligence. So we look forward to what will come out of this as you see things gone in the spring and the summer. One other thing I would add is the staff has been very conscious that this will cause some business disruption, ironically. It's good for business, but there's no way through it. The renovation has to happen. But the fact that we are willing to, pay extra so that the repaving, the blacktopping of all downtown happens at nighttime, so it minimizes disruption. There will still be disruption as, 2nd Street gets torn up, but they're really focused on doing it as fast as possible, and they're being very careful about how to stage it. So I just want people to really appreciate how hard the staff has worked on this. It will be disrupted, but it won't be as disruptive as it could be because of the careful planning and care that they're taking to really care for our residents and for our businesses.
Great, thank you. Appreciate you highlighting that. Thank you so much. With that, will the clerk please call the vote?
Councilmember Ross.
Aye.
Councilmember Tapia.
Aye.
Councilmember Littleware.
Aye.
Councilmember Stone. Aye. Councilmember Bloomberg. Mayor Rodring.
Aye, 6 ayes, no nays. Items 2 through 19 as amended have been approved. Item 1, let me read this. An ordinance amending various sections of Chapter 119 of the Highland Park Code of 1968 as amended regarding liquor licenses, that is, hours of operation, cocktails to go, keg regulations, revised classifications, new classifications. Councilmember Littleware.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. I too wanted to highlight some other very positive things that are in this particular ordinance, because I think they're very good for business. And I'm going to, a little bit of this is going to be repetitive, and I apologize for that, but I think it flows better if we go through it in a whole source, especially because there were questions raised as to the validity of various regulations. So first of all, getting rid of some of the changes for Sundays and the keg registrations and the to-go regulations, those are really bringing us into compliance with what the state of Illinois is doing. And so we're changing our laws and streamlining things so that we're really abiding by the state's laws still and making ours a little bit smaller. In addition to that, we are increasing our specialty dinners on the premises with the C permits, the golf dome, as you pointed out, to the active sports facilities and the G permits. We're streamlining the processes for hotels. They don't have to get two liquor licenses. They can have just one liquor license, and yet they can have a little market and a store in a little space, but they can only get one permit. So we're really trying to do what I think this group does well, which is good lawmaking in a holistic way. And I want to look at this bigger picture, because big picture, we do want to increase the opportunities for businesses. The types of businesses that are affected by this, which really will include something which are ancillary usages, so secondary uses. So also, to your point about having a hair salon and maybe having a bridal shower there, and then you can serve champagne. That permit's, someone's going to have to go and get a permit, but they're going to expand their business because they're going to do that. Maybe at Wayfair Theaters, we have a premiere. The director comes in of a nationally known film, and they're going to have speeches and descriptions of the film that's coming in, and they want to have wine there. So it makes it into an entire event. All of this stuff is good for business, and frankly, quite selfishly, it's good for revenues for the city, because those tax revenues come back to us, and we can put them back into the city. So I think it's wonderful stuff that we're doing. I mean, frankly, I'd love to know the approximate number of businesses on a tertiary level that will be affected by this. But what this also does is we're going to bring in a new class of permit holders, and all of them will still be subject to section 119.320. And 320 is the section that does not permit a liquor license holder to serve as a council member or the mayor. And I really think we need a full analysis of the impact to business owners and to balance all of this decision-making. Because these people who currently could run for office won't be able to because they're going to take a permit for a couple of events. And it's something we want to encourage them to do because we want to see more businesses come to us. We want to be more friendly for our community. We want to be more friendly for additional businesses to build off of that and to use your creativity. And that's what we love about Highland Park, all of us. Whatever business you're in, it's your creativity that makes us the community that we are. And it's one of the reasons why this body has taken an extra pillar in economic development to say we do want to encourage you to be creative and do this. So I think it's a balance of the expansion of business with the further muffling of voices. And I find that very disturbing. Before, I had requested information about what other cities are considering and surveys and as to how people will think about amending this law, because so many towns did not know about this. It's not just us. It's not about fault here, but I think we have a really rare opportunity to look at this today. And the way we do it, it's an opportunity because you aren't usually given the opportunity to correct a wrong. And I see this as a wrong. It's an unfortunate circumstance, but it enables us to correct it with something that's long overdue. Excuse me. It enables us to be more inclusive, not more restrictive, and not more exclusionary. It enhances business participation and growth rather than comparing liquor license holders who undergo deep scrutiny to felons. I want to address two concerns that were raised over this period of time, and we've looked at this now since the end of January, really February. We've received over 200 emails as the City Council. And we've also seen the responses to numerous FOIAs that were filed. And I have to tell you, while I do believe there are people out there who perhaps don't want to see this change, this was virtually unanimous that people wanted to see an amendment. And I've read through everyone, I've tried to respond to everyone, because whatever you think, on whichever side of the issue you are, we can learn from you, and we can make it better with your input. The Restaurants Association, the other groups who've come to us and explained to us why something's important. When we work with the chamber, we learn what their businesses are doing. So your input really does matter. So with this virtual, I'm not going to go through because I had listed some of the things that people said in their emails, calling it an arcane law, saying that everyone knew that Councilmember Hoopler was a local small business owner. You know those things because frankly, you probably wrote them to us, and we're grateful for that, because that's how we do make our decisions. The only previous complaint I had heard, and this was at the February 12th meeting, had to do with rushing things and time. And I wanted to really listen to that complaint. And frankly, that's one of the reasons why my end goal tonight is to ask us to take Section 119, which we've greatly expanded to produce additional permits, and to look at it holistically, and not do that tonight. I'd like to ask, or I'm going to move, that we hold over on this and continue it until the April 24th meeting in order that we can look at it in its totality and see how this will affect the additional permit holders as well as the current people, and see if it's really a compelling interest that's making us hold on to this arcane law. Because frankly, people voted before in a very hurried manner. And I want to make sure that everyone has the time to really think it through, to have listened to all of you who've come to several meetings now, who've written lots of letters, and then to adopt the changes that were recommended tonight in the first portion, and also to add to that the amendment regarding section .320. So I'd like to look at 119 as a whole and continue it to our April 24th meeting. And I really ask your indulgence because I know how hard this council has worked at reading everything that's come in. I know how hard Corporation Council has worked and the staff to try and get us the information we need to make a good decision. But I think we have it now. So I'd really like to ask your indulgence and to keep it for the next meeting.
City Manager.
Great, thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Councilmember Littlewer. We have two businesses that are actually waiting for consideration on the action that the council would take this evening. We had hoped to actually have this ordinance on the last agenda, but we were still working through the legal terms and conditions. And so my recommendation is to vote and consider on the legislation, the ordinance that is before you this evening. Certainly if there's interest from the city council for us to do additional research or work, I mean, we're pleased to do that. But just in consideration of two businesses that are not moving forward because they want to see if they could get these liquor licenses, I would ask that you take consideration, you take action tonight.
Councilmember Stone.
I've read the materials and I'm ready to vote on this tonight.
Councilmember Bloomberg.
I agree with that, and I'm aware that there are several businesses who are waiting for us to pass this law to allow additional types of liquor licenses so that they can expand their businesses. Specifically, this expands the ability and creativity that you're talking about, and delaying this for something that isn't actually a part of this motion is not something that I would support.
Councilmember Tapia.
Yeah, I would also be in favor of delaying it to have more time because the fact that we're expanding the number of liquor license owners or people that can have it, and then at the same time taking something away from them, this does not seem like good, thoughtful legislation. It's taking even with one hand and taking it with another. And this issue, this ordinance that has been in contention is at the heart of this set of legislative things that we're considering. And it seems that we're across currents. On the one hand, we're making things more streamlined, more open, more business friendly, more liberalized, easier to do. And at the same time, we keep holding on to something that many of us believe is archaic and not relevant. So from a legislative perspective, what is our philosophy? Are we about modernizing our city and being business friendly? Or are we about doing that kind of strongly in one way and then holding on in a way that no one that spoke today sees the logic for it, and the 200 other people that we read the letters did not see the logic to that. So for us to move forward, now I fully respect those two business owners. I know at least one of them well. It's painful for me to ask for a delay, but we're talking about how many other liquor license owners will be affected by legislation that's not well thought out. So if we're triaging this, holding on for another 2 weeks to make sure we do thoughtful look at this holistic legislation, see it as a package, and I think see and make sure that we're philosophically and strategically, things are in alignment. Right now, these two things are not in alignment. This package that we're about to vote on, and then this other one that we are not yet willing to rescind, are not compatible with one another. So I would ask that we hold off and give ourselves more time.
So Corporation Council, under Robert's rules, where are we? At this point, I am not quite sure what are options.
Well, I'm not sure if Council Member Littlewer made a motion, then you're looking for a second to, so far that's the only motion on item number 1.
Right, okay.
I would second it.
Was there a motion?
Yes.
Okay.
I suppose I'd like if we're voting, then a chance to say something.
Go for it.
Just simply that this is brand new to me, and I had spoken for a different reason that was answered regarding this item. I had spoken to the city manager, and it was my understanding as well that there are two businesses awaiting the passage of this vote, and so I want to explain that is what I heard as well earlier today, and I'm I'm going with that at this point.
I'm sorry.
Well, I will answer. This is, I would say, uncomfortable for me because I haven't had time to consider this at all, but I am concerned about the two businesses. It was the reason that you gave me for an entirely different reason not to hold off on this vote. So I don't support holding off on the vote.
Thank you. I guess one question that I have is, we have been discussing this not just for 2 months, but for many, many, many months. I don't even remember when we started.
January.
Thank you. The conversation, and I guess my question is, why are you conflating two situations? We have, if people are now aware of the limitations, then perhaps they don't want to move forward with their liquor licenses. What I'm hearing is these two businesses certainly are interested. And, by holding off, you're stymieing what you've set as a priority. Councilmember Bloomberg?
Well, you're asking me a question, yes. Mayor, if you'd like me to respond, I'm sorry.
Go ahead. No. Councilmember Littleworth and then Councilmember Bloomberg.
I think that I was very surprised to see this on the agenda tonight. And I understand it's for a very immediate and a very concrete purpose. And the last thing I want to do is stymie two businesses from going forward. But I think on balance, we have to look at the totality of the whole purpose of this. And if we're going to stifle people's ability to vote, if we're going to suppress votes that have already been made, I think we need to look at the whole context of the liquor license law. And I don't view this as doing something for one of our own. I view this as dealing with any liquor license holder in this town. And so to look at expanding the pool of people who will no longer be able to run, I think we don't have any idea how large that population may be. And that troubles me. And in addition to that troubling me, I think we've heard a massive outcry over these 2 months, which is why I'm glad we went through the process of doing it, because we've heard a cry from people saying, why are we being treated differently? Why are we being excluded from this? If there was a compelling reason to keep this law, I would say, let's do the very small pragmatic thing right now that needs to be done. We need those two liquor license people. We need these two businesses to move forward. Fine, let's do it for them. But I am not ready to sit and watch the entire process for all of our restaurants and all our businesses and all our voters to be ignored. And it's the very law that's doing that. So I see the expansion and the contraction as at odds with each other. And if it meant moving forward and adding to it the amendment, I have no trouble with doing that. If you want to amend the current number 1 on there to add section 119.320 to it, so that we pass that also as an amendment. I brought the language with me. We can have it in the record, so there's no problem with it. We have the language right there. I'm happy to move forward with it. I wanted to be mindful of all of you because I am raising it right now. And we did things properly. We just had a committee of the whole meeting about ethics. We've researched all of this. We've asked Corporation Counsel to bring us things. We've asked the public, and the public has responded with the way they're feeling about this. We are ready to move forward. I didn't want to rush people, and that's why I was offering up moving this for 2 more weeks.
Councilmember Bloomberg?
So the businesses that have been waiting for us to pass this is an urgent matter for them. There's a period of time, and this affects their ability to go forward with business. I'm speaking now. We listen to you speak. We have the right to speak. This is an urgent matter for these businesses that we pass this now. The issue with respect to whether we are going to change who can hold a liquor license, whether they can hold a liquor license as an elected official, is not an emergency. It does not need to be decided in order for these businesses to expand their businesses. This is holding these two businesses hostage for a matter that is not urgent. Nothing is going to happen. There is nobody going to run for office in the next 3 months. So this is a matter that can be decided with reasonable deliberation. One of the people that got up to speak tonight pointed out the fact that we have not had a discussion of the purpose of the existing law or how an amendment would work. And with all due respect, we had a committee of the whole meeting tonight where we had presentations regarding our ethics code, which is affected by and would interact with any potential amendment, and we haven't made decisions about that yet. I want to have a discussion about the reason for the law, whether it has value. The fact that it's antiquated, I don't care. The Constitution of the United States is antiquated, but it has a purpose to it. There are purposes to this law. I don't know what they are. They haven't been discussed. All anybody has done is gotten up to say it's antiquated and it's ridiculous without understanding what the purpose of the law was or the amendments to the law. So I'm prepared to, I'm sorry, this is not your meeting. It is my meeting. No, it is not your meeting. This is a city council meeting and I'm not finished. So I'm prepared to vote on the motion tonight. I am not going to vote in favor of tabling this.
Councilmember Stone.
Thank you. I'd like to call the question.
Excuse me, I'm not done. I would rather we not call the question. I have one more statement I'd like to make.
Okay, and I know Councilmember Tapia also wanted to speak. So which of you is going
You can
next?
let us go first. I don't mean to be
Tapia.
rude.
Yeah, well, actually, I want to say, you know, as much as we disagree here, and it's hardly felt, I am going to ask that there be some respect for the office and for the residents here. Your passion is important. Your commitment to Highland Park is important, but we really have to model the decorum and the respect we need to have to one another and still disagree vehemently and with passion. So I appreciate you being here because you care, but I just want to make sure that we really live out our values in the way that that we feel good about and respect one another. So I'm just going to ask for that for respect of you as well. The point I want to make is, again, given how much we are prioritizing economic development, we need to attract businesses. You don't, prosper as a city if you only attract your residents. We want something wonderful for our residents, but we only prosper if we attract, visitors and other businesses to come here. The Illinois Restaurant Association has just written a letter to our city government, to the city of Highland Park, pointedly asking us to really look at this from the perspective of business and the fact that they represent the kinds of restaurants that we want to attract here. So from a strategy perspective and from an economic development priority perspective, us holding on to this ordinance is hurting us. And we still have it within our power to really look at this. And we all know the arguments there. And in terms of the urgency of the two businesses that are hurting, well, we can address the urgency. If we agree to rescind this ordinance tonight, then we can address the division that is happening in our city. We can address the angst that this is causing. We can address the bad press that we're getting as not friendly, a business-friendly city, which is really bad for us, given everything that we're doing to be business-friendly. We're undoing our own work. And so we have a chance to sort of cut the Gordian knot, rescind that ordinance, and pass the rest of it so the two businesses can move on and get going and deal with the emergency, and at the same time, not disenfranchise liquor license owners, the current ones and the new ones that are going to come online, right? And to really get on the track that we're on on the basis of what we have declared was a priority. We have to undo the image that we are not a business-friendly city, and we are on the cusp of doing that in a very meaningful way because of these investments, and we're actually hurting our own cause by holding on to this thing that we have yet to hear anybody tonight, anybody in the 200 letters, support it. I do not understand why we still hold on to something that is damaging us so much.
Councilmember Littleworth.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. So there is urgency with regard to the amendment too. To Councilman Bloomberg's point, this is urgent for these two businesses, and it pains me deeply to think that we might not be able to do that. If there's a way to do a portion of this in order to enable these two businesses to move forward, I would be most amenable to that. If we can do a partial segment just so that these two businesses can move forward, that's wonderful. But there is a time crunch with regard to this amendment too. Because in addition to hurting our community on a daily basis, our business image, business-friendly image to the outside world, we are also hurting the council member who is not sitting next to me today, okay? Because his resignation is effective on April 30th. And while this is not about him, it is truly about the bigger picture, there is a sense of urgency with regard to that one portion. So while I don't want to equate two businesses getting a permit with someone who spent God knows how much time and effort, not only running for office, but serving in office and caring about this community, and is watching this choice between what he viewed as, I don't want to say his full career, but something he invested all this energy into on our behalf, coupled with his family and having to support that family and then having that choice. He has until April 30th. And after that, if in fact he has no choice in terms of having had to submit his resignation. So if we aren't on the way to curing the fact that he shouldn't be in office, maybe it shouldn't have been certified in his election, maybe he shouldn't have gotten a renewal license. Everybody made mistakes. But instead of pointing to them, what we could do is cure them. If you can't cure them tonight because, Councilmember, you need more information, or anyone does, and I really didn't want to rush it, okay? I did not understand the urgency of these two businesses. I'm very sympathetic, which is why I'd like to find a way to somehow move those two businesses along toward this. But I also think it's only fair to also include this as part of it.
So I just want to state a couple of facts. There is no official letter of resignation. There is nothing that says that anything has to be decided by April 30th.
There is a letter of resignation.
Have you received a letter of resignation that is sufficient under the law as?
We have not. There is a letter that certainly says exactly what Councilmember Litterer says, but it doesn't constitute an official letter.
It's sufficient under the law, so maybe he needs counsel how to resign?
We've
Also conditional.
It's conditional until April 30th.
I'm sorry. Let's continue to respect each other.
Thank you, Mayor.
He has issued a statement. It is not a letter of resignation as is required under the law. He has created this time sensitivity. There's nothing that says he needs to leave this council by April 30th.
That is not correct.
But it is.
If he is not curing the problem, which is in effect, which even though the Liquor Commission has not rescinded his license, he needs to be on the path to curing.
According to whom?
According
to the state?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a separate issue. That's a state investigation that this council has
I didn't say
nothing
anything
to do
about
with.
any investigations or anything else. I'm saying that he's been advised by legal counsel that he needs to cure. And in order to cure, this is the advice he was given. Who are we?
Not
The
by.
question.
Not
I
by,
didn't
not by
say-
Corporation Council.
Absolutely not.
No, so I'm just saying, as far as this body is concerned, there is no time sensitivity and there is no letter of resignation.
Okay, there's a letter that's announcing that the councilman is going to resign on April 30th unless the law is changed. So that's the time sensitivity I'm referring to.
Okay,
It is
would-
not specific to resignation, if that makes it clearer.
So
But that is a fact,
So
too.
council has reached out to him, and when we receive a proper letter of resignation, then that will be starting the clock. But at the moment, I'm going to call the question. Will the clerk please call the vote? And let's be clear. This is the motion, right? If you could read the motion, if you need us to restate the motion, just so we are clear what we are voting on. There's no, we're done. Business from the public was a few hours ago. I appreciate you. Thank you.
Resignation dated March 18th, addressed to the Liquor Commission.
Mr. Purington, if you could please take your seat. Mr. Purington, if you could please take your seat. I will explain to you, I will explain to you that under the state law, there is no resignation until a notarized letter has been sent to the mayor. Don't wave your hand at me, I'm just telling you what the reality is. All right, the motion needs to be restated.
Council?
Condition number one is
I
amended.
could state the motion. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, if we could
Councilmember
state the
Litterer?
motion.
No, it's
Oh,
not. But
what did you?
I was asking for you to clarify.
What the resignation
Relevant, it
requirements
doesn't
are.
really matter.
There is indeed a letter that has been received that, as Councilman Litterer correctly states, announces that there's an intention to resign.
Thank you.
But
That's all I.
if I could, right, if I could just so we're all on the same page. I did send an email today to Councilmember Hubler in response to an email that he had sent me in Corporation Council this morning at 9:42. And part of my email to him is, if you are interested in resigning, Illinois statute requires a letter addressed to the mayor, signed by the person holding elected office, and the letter must be notarized. Please also include the effective date of the resignation. We received a letter with perhaps an intent to resign, but it was not a formal resignation. So he received this information and guidance today at 2:19. The motion in response to the mayor's question, and it's as amended.
Well, we're looking at Councilmember
Table is
Litterer.
from Councilmember Litterer asking that
And
we
it's
postpone action on item
Continue,
1.
yeah. As I understand it, it's a motion to continue item 1 to April 24th to allow for inclusion of an amendment to section 119.320.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Ross,
Nay.
Councilmember Tapia,
Aye.
Councilmember Littlewer,
Aye.
Councilmember Stone,
No.
Councilmember Bloomberg,
No.
Mayor Rotering.
No. Did I hear you correctly, Councilmember Ross? Was that a nay?
That was a no, for the reasons I
Okay.
gave.
Thank you. So I am now seeking a motion to approve item 1 as amended.
So moved.
Second.
Will the clerk please call the vote?
Councilmember Ross,
Aye.
Councilmember Tapia,
No.
Councilmember Littlewer,
No.
Councilmember Stone,
Aye.
Councilmember Bloomberg,
Aye.
Mayor Rotering.
Aye. 4 ayes, 2 nays. Item 1 as amended is approved. I'm going to assume there is no other business. So, and there is no closed session, so I'm seeking a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We stand adjourned.